Alright, it's the end of the year. Like everybody else, I kind of wanted to think on all the stuff I've done this year, kind of think back to what it is that I liked and what I didn't. And what were the top moments of 2022 game-wise for me? I want to be very clear. I am looking at my experience playing games, what I enjoyed, and so that leads me to today's video, my top 10 games of 2022. Alright, so with all that out of the way, first up on the list is going to be Cult of the Lamb. Cult of the Lamb came out this year. The developer was Massive Monster and the publisher Devolver Digital. This one had a kind of rough launch. It had a lot of Twitch integrations that on launch were somewhat broken, but they got them rectified pretty quickly. Underneath that, it's a good roguelite with a lot of interesting elements to it. You had to maintain your resources while still doing runs on the roguelite side of the house. Art overall is absolutely beautiful. I love the hand-drawn style, and then the combat itself feels really solid, and the base building elements offer a good progression in the skill tree. Next up on the list is a newer indie title. It's called Zero Seaver. If you haven't seen this one, this is an early access title as of November 2022, produced by Cabo Studio and published by Modern Wolf. It's a pixel art 2D top-down Tarkov-like that's all player versus enemy. The whole gameplay loop is go in, find materials, perform some quests, and then extract. Story is okay. There are some translation issues, but again, it's early access, it's an indie studio, so a little bit of grace there. Gameplay is extremely solid. I really enjoy the pixel art graphics for it. Overall, expect to die lots. It's a good time. Alright, moving into the number 8 spot is Jupiter Hell. Jupiter Hell is a hardcore, old school roguelite that's being produced by the Chaos Forge team and published by Hyperstrange. It came out on March 1st, 2019 into early access, and then full release was August 5th, 2021. It's definitely not for the weak-willed. It is very much old school in that you die, you lose everything. Very, very roguelike, not roguelite. There are lots of different build options, and to their credit, there's also 3 distinct classes that each have their own class resource, as well as ways that you can upgrade them. The dialogue's a bit cheesy, but that's exactly what they were going for. They have made it mention multiple times that it's meant to be cheesy one-liners. To their credit, you can also turn that off and turn on a serious mode if that's not your cup of tea. It's pretty daunting at first with the keyboard shortcuts and all the other things that maybe some of the modern gamers aren't used to, but overall I'd say really, really worth it, and it's a really good time. Following that at number 7 is Neon White. This is an interesting one. It's an FPS anime-based, card-based speedrunning game. It came out June 16th, 2022 and was produced by Angel Matrix and published by Annapurna Interactive. Core gameplay loop is very interesting. It's an FPS where you iterate over times on your levels. You try to shave off just milliseconds of time in order to get high spots on the leaderboards, both globally and locally between you and your friends. Overall, the art is really, really cool. The story's pretty decent as far as I've made it, and the voice acting is awesome. Controls feel absolutely airtight. I enjoy every second I try to put in to take off just tenths of a second on my time. Alright, so we're going to add in another Metroidvania to the list. This one is going to be The Messenger, coming in at number 6. So The Messenger was originally put out on August 30th, 2018, and developed by Sabotage, published by Devolver Digital. It's very heavy on the meta commentary and fourth wall breaking. The jokes landed most of the time for me. I really enjoyed some of the humor and kind of the more ranty bits about fourth wall stuff. Controls are tight, and it's a great love letter to the old school NES, Ninja Gaiden, and those sorts of games. The art style is great, and they managed to do art in both 8 and 16-bit that really impressed me. Alright, we're about halfway through, so let's get it going with number 5, Infernax. Infernax is a personal favorite of mine. It came out February 14th, 2022, produced by Berserk Studio and published by the Arcade Crew. It's an awesome, awesome, awesome throwback Metroidvania. Very, very fun, very reminiscent of the old NES days as well. It's got an interesting story. You are the crusader that's there to save the world, but you can also go on the side of evil. It has multiple endings, which is unusual for this sort of game. It has 4 different endings, I believe. It has great art to go with it. Pixel art, I'm a sucker for. It controls really well. The gameplay feels extremely good. You've got a lot of different magic and attacks that you can perform. The art is extremely fitting for what it's trying to be. The 8-bit style is gorgeous. I absolutely am a sucker for pixel graphics. And they are still keeping up with the game, which is another reason to look at it. It recently had a free Halloween expansion of The Stranger, introducing a second playable character to the game. Next on the list is one that's extremely difficult to describe. Number 4 spot belongs to Inscription. Now, this one is a Daniel Mullins game, and if you've ever played any other Daniel Mullins games, you kind of get a feel for how out there this might be. It was published by Devolver Digital and released on October 19th, 2021, and it's very hard to put a label on this, but we'll try anyways. It's a card builder roguelite escape room mashup with horror elements and all kinds of creepy stuff. There's definitely some body horror in play, so be warned about that if that's a particular thing for you. It's very off-putting, very, very creepy. It gets under your skin, and it does what it sets out to do extremely well. The soundtrack does a great job of getting under your skin and using the different songs as well as the different sound effects to kind of raise the stakes and tension. Alright, coming in at the number 3 spot is a personal favorite of mine, Tunic. Tunic was released March 16th, 2022, and was produced by the Tunic team and the publisher Finji. The best way to describe it is a very good combination of a Zelda-like and a Souls-like game. It's a phenomenal little isometric exploration game, adventure game. You got a lot to look at there. The beautiful art is everywhere. The manual is all hand-drawn, and it does a great job of teaching you via showing, not telling. A lot of the puzzles and a lot of the landscape are there to teach you how to play the game in ways that you didn't think you would need to learn. And the puzzles are absolutely everywhere. It was one of my favorite pieces of the game. Almost everything in that game is a puzzle. It's both a pro and a con, because at times it can get a little overwhelming and overbearing, but I thought most of the time they were very well thought out and very well done. Combat is very tight and controls feel very good. Overall, it was just a great time to play. Alright, next up on the list we have Moonscars. Moonscars was an interesting Metroidvania to say the least. I really enjoyed my time playing it. It released on September 27th, 2022. Was produced by Black Mermaid and published by Humble Studios. It's a very classic Metroidvania, very awesome pixel art throughout the game. The story was a bit confusing. They had a tendency to kind of talk in circles and talk in riddles a lot of the time. Combat was tight and fun. It had some inclusion of roguelite elements, so it kind of blends two of my favorite genres, and it was still a fun time to play, no matter how confusing the story got. Alright, here we go. Top spot belongs to Hades. Hades is one of my absolute favorite roguelites. It was produced and published by Supergiant Games. The roguelite gameplay itself is absolutely fantastic. Controls feel tight, story is solid, and overall, just the art is gorgeous, the voice acting is gorgeous, the gameplay is fun. Fun. Combos between god boons is where this game really shines, in my opinion. You're able to make multiple different runs feel extremely different just by your selection of items throughout the game. You know, between picking up a weapon and changing it with a Daedalus hammer and then getting boons that align. I would check it out. Absolutely worth the price, in my opinion. And overall, you're not going to go wrong with this one. But wait, there's more. Those of you that know me, this is my real top spot of the year. There's a little bonus here, because I wanted to be a little triggering and hold out Elden Ring. This one was produced by From Software Inc. and then published by From Software in combination with Bandai Namco. It's one of the biggest Souls games in the series, absolutely freaking massive. The environment design is wonderful in most places, okay in some. It's got gorgeous pops of color, and some areas absolutely dominate the set. Some areas felt a little repetitive. Most are crafted with purpose, but overall I think if they brought down the map size 15 to 25%, they might be able to make it a little smaller and retain the same feel, if not better. That's just an armchair opinion. The combat is extremely tight. It has new additions for Souls veterans, but for new players will feel extremely good on the controls. Build diversity in this one is by far my favorite in the series. It's got the most, I think, where you can go between strength, dex, bleed, any of the numerous builds that are out there and still enjoy your time fighting the bosses. Characters are interesting. A lot of the enemy designs are gorgeous. I love some of the boss designs, and it has my favorite boss in the entire Souls series, Melania. I know a lot of people aren't going to think of that as their favorite, but I enjoyed the fight. It was one of my favorite that I've ever had. Alright, so there you have it. There's my top 11 games of 2022. Mainly because I can't count, and also because the bonus was fun. I hope you enjoyed my list. Let me know what yours are. I want to know, what are your top games this year? And if you have any goals, put them down there. Or if you have any particular games you're trying to 100% or anything like that. I appreciate you watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the video. Peace.